and Tugman.
We're here with Tea at 2, and we're going to share lots of good stories and things to look forward to in the month of May. So let's just jump right in. We'll begin by saying every first Saturday at 1, we have a Keeping It Real film series that takes place at the main library. And we'll be featuring a 1965 classic film called Ship of Fools this Saturday at 1 o'clock. This is starring Vivian Lee, Lee Marvin, Jose Greco, some of the famous actors and actresses of the day. It's a black and white film, but we're picking to show this film in celebration of Catherine Ann Porter. She is the author of the book Ship of Fools. Okay. And I tell you, I haven't seen the film, but I've seen the trailers. I can't wait to see it. This is taking place in the 1930s. It's a ship of passengers that are on their way to Germany right before Nazism and World War II is going to begin. And there's a lot going on with their different situations. I know Vivian Lee is an aging divorcee in this film, and she's trying to regain some youth and, you know, get her beauty going back.
Well, she's can't
beautiful.
help but be beautiful.
She is beautiful. You know Vivian Lee. She was
Scarlett O'Hara.
Scarlett O'Hara. I know. I can't wait to see the film. It's going to be great. So we'll be following these characters and the tangled webs they weave across the ocean liner in Ship of Fools.
Okay.
All right. As I mentioned, this is in celebration of Catherine Ann Porter. Ship of Fools was her only novel. It took her 20 years to write that novel.
Okay.
And then they made a film out of it, and it was nominated for some awards. Okay. So, but we, in celebration of her, this is a collection of her short stories. And
so now we're going into the reading trap.
Right. There's a trap involved.
There's a trap.
Okay. The reading trap is in Trap Hill, but we read across the county, and we meet in Trap Hill for sure. And it's always on the second Thursday at noon. We have a lot of tasty things to sample that relate to our story, what characters might be eating. We want to eat what they ate and see what it was like. They're eating all sorts of things in this book. This is actually a collection of short stories. So as I said, if you wanted to sample Catherine Ann Porter, you might not have time for the entire novel Ship of Fools. You might not have time to read all the short stories, but you can pick one or two and read a little to get an idea on what her style is. She's tells a little bit about the characters and how to have compassion for them. There's a lot of conflict involved between the characters in the book, and I just wanted to share a really unique
I want to hear
style of her writing.
Go
because
for it.
Not just the characters themselves, but she's got a beautiful way with words and describing scenery. This is a quote from The Jilting of Granny Weatherall. Now, Granny Weatherall, this story is one of her most famous short stories, and a lot of schools research or study it, you know, in college or high school when they're studying literature. And Granny Weatherall is near the end of life, and she's thinking back on all the memories of her life and what things have happened to her. And she says, "What was it I set out to do?" She asked herself intently, but she could not remember. A fog rose over the valley. She saw it, marching across the creek, swallowing the trees, moving up the hill like an army of ghosts. Soon it would be near the edge of the orchard, and then it was time to go in and light the lamps. "Come in, children. Don't stay out in that night air." Lighting the lamps had been beautiful. The children huddled up to her and breathed like little calves waiting at the bars in twilight. Their eyes followed the match and watched the flame rise and settle in a blue curve. Then they moved away from her. The lamp was lit. They didn't have to be scared and hang on to Mother anymore. Never, never, never more. God, for all my life I thank Thee. Without Thee, my God, I could have never done it. Hail Mary, full of grace. I think she's thinking about leaving her children. You know, she's near the end of life, and these are some things that were troubling in her mind, and but she's thinking about they don't have to worry anymore.
Very well done.
It's just she's poetic and she's very lyrical in her writing. She was raised in Texas, and so a lot of her stories are from that western part of the state. And she has, I just love the descriptive way, like the fog coming in like an army of ghosts.
Yeah.
You know? So I want to share that with you. I do want to mention, so we don't forget about this, but every second Thursday, Trap Hill meets at noon, and the Friends of the Library have their Thursday night book sale.
Yeah.
And that takes place on May the 9th. It starts at 5 to 7, and then they're open all day the following Saturday or Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday,
Mhm.
all day long,
All day.
9 to 5.
So,
And tell them we got something new to report.
wait a minute, I made a
No.
mistake.
Friends of the Library, tell them what else is going on.
Every Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
They started opening on Tuesday mornings now, so that's every week.
Yeah, every
Okay.
week.
Every week on
In the
Tuesday
mornings.
in the morning. Come on down to their book sale room on Tuesday morning and see what kind of things they have up for sale. There's always lots of good things to pick up there, and the prices are so affordable. It's like going to a Barnes and Noble, but you got a discount, a big discount, which supports the library. Your sales, or their sales, come back to us in donations to fund our programs. And I said that was May the 9th, Thursday, but it's May the 8th. May the 8th, Thursday.
Right.
Okay. And then Friday, all day Friday and Saturday, the 9th and 10th. So the reading trap, May the 8th. The book sale starts over that night, and lots to go on. But let's jump back to May the 5th, because I'm a little out of order, but I want you to
that's
share
okay.
your
What's-
special program May the 5th.
Yeah, what's fun is that it's springtime, but you don't have to mow all the time or set out flowers all the time. And if it's raining, come see us anyway.
Right?
Because you always need reading material. But there's always this. We have started doing. It's a group called Road Scholar. It started as Elder Hostel, if you've ever heard of that, and they're 50 years old. They have a wealth of information about travel, but they also put together these lecture series, and so we've done 4 of them, and the 5th one for May is what's the day? The 5th.
Monday.
Yes. Monday. Watch out, it's coming up. But this time, they always put an interesting angle on something. So we're headed to the Pacific because they go worldwide. Last week we were in the Arctic Circle. Wow. But this time we're going to solve a mystery that's been on Easter Island. And how did those giant stone statues get there, and what do they mean?
Yeah.
And they're ancient. And so what they do, Road Scholar likes to find expert lecturers, and then they come and talk to us on a big screen in the meeting room, and it's amazing. We can I don't think on this one we get to ask questions, but I think if you go in before time, we have a login, we can go in before time and request some questions.
Conversation on parts of.
So we've got this one left on May the 5th, Monday. We got one more in June, and the one in June is about D-Day. Yeah. And we have a little theme going on today.
We do, but I want to mention this.
Yeah.
This is at what time on May the 5th? 1 o'clock.
1
It's
o'clock.
an afternoon.
So take your lunch break and come in. You can eat while you're watching this 1 hour. It's just 1 hour of your time. But they're wonderful. And we're going to try to figure out, they offered this to us because of their 50th anniversary to public libraries in the United States. Some of us are taking advantage of it, a bunch of us. And then we're going to try to continue on because their stuff is good.
I do
it's
love
very,
it.
very good.
It's like an armchair travel, like you mentioned before. You're going around the country. If you can't afford to take a physical trip, take a virtual trip with us.
Yeah.
And we're going to Easter Island.
And learn something about it. That's right.
But there is a
Scenery's
theme
gorgeous.
on the literature that we're highlighting this month. We just realized this because, I picked out the Catherine Ann Porter stories to go with in celebration of her birthday. And I didn't even know that the Ship of Fools happened to be prior to Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be reading some other things in Mara Lynn's book club that fall into place and sort of complement each other.
So we've got a long-standing, we're in our 4th year, Talking Service Book Club, and it literally means that we've just we get together and we talk military, and it's from all different angles and from all, I mean, going back to ancient times to modern times. But it just so happens this time we're going to talk about an article that's in Standing Down, and this is our book. I can give you a copy of this. We have copies to give away. It's not that much reading in one sitting, let me tell you. It's 40 different articles in here from everybody from, but this, well, it goes all the way up through Afghanistan and goes all the way back
to
the Greeks.
The Greek Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey.
Yeah. So then, but this time, it just so happened we picked an article that Sigmund Freud wrote, and it's called "Why War?" ? And then tell them what you found out.
I found out that Sigmund Freud was actually responding to a letter that he received from Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
So I'll read you the beginning of that letter, and then you can respond as Freud.
Okay.
I'll be Einstein, you can be Freud.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So he writes, "Dear Professor Freud, is there any way of delivering mankind from the menace of war? It is common knowledge that with the advance of modern science, this issue has come to mean a matter of life and death for civilization as we know it. Nevertheless, for all the zeal displayed, every attempt at its solution has ended in a lamentable breakdown." You know, the modern science he's referring to, I think, is the atomic bomb, right?
Yes.
There's a little response there. Do you need glasses?
How do you know?
I'm always borrowing hers from her office when I forget mine.
We have a thing. We share phone chargers and glasses.
Definitely.
Okay, so the article in the book that Sigmund Freud wrote in response to Professor Einstein, it's only 13 pages to read, and it happened in September of 1932. So this is going back while Oppenheimer and all that work is going on.
Work is going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the fruition of it happened in 1945. So this is several years ahead of that.
Okay.
Okay, now wait a minute. So Dr. Freud responds, you begin with the relations between might and right, and this is assuredly the proper starting point for our inquiry. But for the term might, I would substitute a tougher and more telling word, violence. In right and violence, we have today, wait a minute, it's that light up there. I'll blame it on something. Okay. An obvious, wait a minute, antimony.
That's a new word.
Yeah.
We always talk about words.
Antagonists, antimony.
Yeah.
It's easy to prove that one has evolved from the other.
So violence maybe justifies the right for war.
Yeah.
Instead of the might. We might portray violence. This is what they're saying. In other words, they're kind of like debating it. They're having a debate.
We celebrated Vietnam Veterans Day at the end of March, and one of the discussions that we had in Talking Service Book Club, because we had some wonderful guest speakers, and we had Vietnam people from. Actually, we had people from Korea.
Oh yeah.
And Vietnam, all the way up to Afghanistan, and we were talking about how war changed from territory. Now, right now, what's going on in the Ukraine is territory. But somewhere over in Vietnam and in the Far East, it changed to a war of attrition. And if you've heard that term, I asked the group, I said, define that for me, please. And they mean it's body count. So when they say violence, the violence towards some end is how many did I kill or did the United States kill versus how many they got of us. Ooh.
I know.
So
it's a touchy topic.
It's touchy, and I can see a really great discussion coming out of this.
But it's part of history, and you have a historical fiction book.
Yeah.
This is coming up.
Okay.
Let's refresh the time frame. May the 9th, which is Friday.
So Reading Trap meets on second Thursdays. The book sale starts on the second Friday morning, at 10 o'clock is when Talking Service Book Club meets.
Yeah, you can come visit us and have some conversation,
let's
and then
back.
you can head over to the book sale.
Yeah.
But don't forget, mark your calendars, Talking Service Book Club.
Yeah, we're a small but mighty
We
group.
invite everyone.
Yeah.
It is a veterans type of reading material, but everyone is welcome to join us.
Yeah, and it doesn't get, it's as heavy duty as we make it.
Right.
It's a wonderful
It's
discussion.
very interesting.
I learn a lot, and I think everybody enjoys being together because they have common history. It's very good.
So the next historical read coming up is on May the 20th at Mara Lynn's book club. You want to tell about that?
Okay, so this is a book that's been on our radar. A lot of our book club members, and this, I just call it library book club because there's so many other book clubs around. And this one, Kristen Harmel's been on our radar. She is an author who likes to focus on French history having to do with World War II. And that's almost becoming a genre of its own.
I read that. You read that in the...
Yeah, World War II history is one thing, and then France is another thing. And if you've ever read The Nightingale, the Kristen Hannah book.
And this is
People
a different
love that.
Kristen. That's not Hannah, that's
Yeah,
Harmel.
this is Harmel.
Kristen Harmel.
But I was going to use this maybe for Women's History Month, and I carried it over because this is also a story about mothers. And Mother's Day falls in May. And so what it meant to me, and I didn't read it until last fall, but it's been out for 2 years. And The Paris Daughter is how mothers with daughters had impossible choices to make when the planes, you can barely see them up there. Here's those Nazi warplanes dropping bombs on Paris. And there are other great stories about cities that survived in Germany, London, where the bombs were dropping all around us, and what came out of that. This is an excellent story about when that reality hits, and how did people cope, and how did they survive, and what did mothers have to do, and how did their friendships survive, and how did the daughters survive. And this is it's a special book, and Kristen knows how to write where you put a mystery in there. And this one has an element of art, and has an element of the men in their lives, and it goes cross-continental too. So it starts out in Paris, and one of the women in Paris is married to a Frenchman, but she's from New York.
Oh.
They end up back in New York, and what happens? It's about 250 pages, but it's excellent.
One of the page turners, you can't stop reading.
Yeah, and we've got copies at the library. Join us if you can. It's third Tuesday, and this time it falls on May the 20th. So we'd love to see you 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock?
In our meeting room at the library. And I think there's a little bit of excitement about this.
This is a really, I see it's a really been highly rated as one of the best historical novels out there.
It is.
So we are continuing the theme from Ship of Fools to going to Germany to Paris.
Yep, to Paris.
And of course with Talking Service Book Club at the same time. We also have a program that Mara Lynn has been hosting across the state. They call it NC Reads. We don't have the book with us in our hands today, but the chosen book for May is the girls that got, what is it called? They got left behind?
No.
The girls that were sent away.
We sent away.
We sent the girls away.
Whoa.
And why did we send them away? Let Marlene give you a synopsis of it.
So just to let you know, the North Carolina Humanities Council, which is also funded by Federal Humanities Council. So just know they do some important work in our state. And for the last 4 years, they have picked 5 books that are controversial in a way. These are all new books too. And so...
And these are all connected to our state. So
all
that's why
connected to
they're
our
the
state.
girls that we sent away.
Yes.
Because we live here too.
And we just did Hungry Roots last night. And the authors were on our big screen again, and they were telling us about what they learned when they wrote their book. This one is Megan Church, and she's going to talk about a point in time, I think it was in the 60s, right? And what happened to girls when a rough situation.
An unplanned pregnancy.
Exactly. And
where did they go?
Where did they go?
There was a lot of stigma surrounding,
yeah,
you know, the unwed mothers, especially in that time frame.
So this story has been, it came out in 2024, so I think you'll enjoy it because it puts a frame around a situation that's not so unique. It is not unique.
Yeah, it still happens, but I know in the 60s...
But our reactions are different.
Right. There's more compassion, and we wouldn't want to send them away today.
Yeah. It's like...
But going back in time, that's what happened. Yeah.
And it's, you know, there's so many bestsellers that have happened in the last 3 years about unplanned situations or orphans or situations that happen where there's separation between children and parents. And this should be good. I have not read it yet. I won't pretend like I have.
But this is when does this conversation take place?
This happens on May 28th. So this is right after, Memorial Day.
Right.
When does Memorial Day fall this? I can't remember.
Well, it's at the end of May, May 28th, and it's going to be at 6 o'clock in our library.
Yeah, it is. I think it's the Tuesday after. We're going to be closed for Memorial Day.
Okay, that's right.
To remember veterans.
That's right.
And
so
to remember the ones that gave it all.
We'll reopen on this Tuesday for the broadcast, the live stream with Megan Church.
Yes.
Don't miss out. Yeah. That's going to be exciting.
It will be good.
Now, we've been talking about how all of these stories are going to complement each other, and also you can see different ways of thinking through multiple lenses of society with the scientist's perspective on war, the philosopher Freud and his beliefs about war. Of course, look at all these books.
And a mother's
perspective. There you go.
Yep.
So we also wanted to let you know that in May, it's always on the first Saturday, so we're going back to May 3rd. We're going to jump back to the beginning of the month and introduce you to a nationally known celebrated day every year, and that is called Free Comic Book Day. Of course, we don't have free comic books to give away, but we have comic books and graphic novels that you can freely borrow at the library. Yep. And we have a new series of trading cards.
The back looks like
bang pow.
Yeah.
Action. This is the Wilkes County Public Library graphic
trading card.
Comic card trading card collection. Yeah. And I found one in here they're not always about action figures and heroes or fantasy. I mean, that is a big genre.
Even though we do have the giant bat.
Yes, and
we've got him.
What
else do we have?
Well, when we were talking about war times, I just discovered that one of the featured cards in this collection, Whitebird, A Wonder Story, by R.J. Palacio. I didn't say his name right, but he is with the Wonder series, and he's telling his grandmother's story. When she was a young Jewish girl, she was hidden, I guess, to save protection from the Nazis that were scooping folks up and shipping them away. But she was in France, like the Paris daughter, but she was Jewish and she was hiding. So the story goes, there was a boy that once shunned her, probably because of her religion, being Jewish, but now he became her savior and her best friend. And that's a true story, written in a graphic novel format. But of course, you are holding the card with my favorite character of all.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I want to collect her. Wonder Woman. Woohoo! And we have some graphic novels here.
You know, Wonder Woman saved the day in World War II, too.
Yes, there you go. We have, this is Wonderful Women in the World. And it's not only about the character Wonder Woman, but it's also talking about wonderful women in general. So
You
it's
know
kind
what?
of autobiographical or
Open
biographical.
that book up, just so you'll know what a graphic novel is. It's a little bit more of a. It's just
A picture.
It's a
story.
comic book, but it's also elevated, maybe more with a little more storytelling. I don't know, and it's not as fragile. You know, I don't know about you, but do you remember Archie and Jughead?
Oh yeah, I do. The Jugheads, Veronica,
Oh yeah, I love the
Betty,
Archies.
and Archie.
Yeah,
But these are some stories in this collection about wonderful women. Not just Wonder Woman,
right.
but other women that you may know, like Beyonce. She's a wonderful
Cool.
woman. Yeah.
I'll tell you something else. We had a book club read for Frankenstein,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which was considered one of the very first horror novels.
I remember.
written by a woman, right?
Yeah.
And so the first, besides comics, the first real graphic novel that I loved was the Frankenstein story, but in a graphic novel format.
Wow.
And it was excellent. So, you know, sometimes if you can't get past, you know,
A big fat
a novel
read.
that's like that, you might be able to find something that's a little more condensed,
Well,
a
here
little
you
more
go.
illustrated.
Macbeth.
Yeah. There's Macbeth.
This is the modern
In a
telling
graphic
of
novel.
Shakespeare's Macbeth. It's a modern makeover, and
Yeah.
this one kind of I picked as a representative book for you because we just celebrated Shakespeare's birthday. I like to
Yeah.
celebrate the birthdays.
Yes,
So
you do.
Shakespeare was born the 23rd of April, so they say, and we have a series of his plays written in the graphic novel format with the characters and the speech bubbles and all the action.
Yeah.
Good books. Come and borrow some books and
Yes.
start picking up and collecting your trading cards.
Yes.
They're on hand for a limited time at the library, and they'll be released this weekend for Comic Book Day.
Yes.
Cool. All right, now more stuff. You know, we have piles of things in our lap here today, but I wanted to make sure we didn't forget.
Oh, do these.
That's what I was. Yeah, the first one is
Something coming up.
coming
That's
up right off the bat. Actually, May the 1st. So if you're seeing this video, as soon as it's released, you'll know the very next day is Fairy Day, May the 1st. You know, I remember May 1st being around the maypole with wrapping the ribbons around the maypole.
Yeah.
The fairies dancing and spring's on the way.
Yeah.
And we have some great books with fairy themes, the wonders of nature. And there's some, look at this beautiful mushroom.
Oh.
A toadstool,
gorgeous.
right? The fairies like
Yeah.
to sit on the toadstool.
Yeah.
And they live in the forest. You can learn all about the nature, the wonder of nature here, and gardening. What is your book on?
Okay, looky here. Not only do hobbits live underground.
There's
know.
all kinds of creatures in that picture.
Yeah, this is really so. Flying on birds.
Mm-hmm. It's fantastic.
Anyway, there we have.
Fantastical.
It's fantastical.
And we have this great green fairy book. Now this is some of the assembled stories, and it's a junior novel that's historical fairy stories that have been around for decades. And,
I know. We always loved the scary stories to tell in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
These are the fairy stories to tell all the time.
That's right.
You don't have to be scared of the dark. You can do
The
fairies.
fairies are so awesome. And so for Fairy Day, over at the library, they're going to have a bubble demonstration. Actually, the bubble party is going to take place outdoors in the Brushy Mountain Rutan Park.
Yeah.
Right there on the corner of the library. But come indoors and check out and celebrate the wonders of spring and celebrate the fairies with us. Now,
and we're going to round the corner. I know when you were saying May 1st reminded you of maypoles. It reminds me of getting pushed off the swing set.
Did that happen to you?
It was like an annual thing.
Oh,
You
no.
When you go back outside after being cooped up for so long, you kind
Right.
of go crazy.
Well, the bubble, Ayla, the Dream Fairy, is going to be doing the bubble art for us at the Roots in Brushy Mountain Park.
Okay.
That's May 1st from 10 to 11. And then we'll have all kinds of activities indoors at the library. So visit us for that. I want to tell you, though, the children's department is kind of taking a little break. They're getting ready for summer reading.
It's short.
It's a couple, the end of May.
You'll survive it,
Right.
but I don't know if we will. I'm enjoying working downstairs where I get to see all those little kids.
I know, they're so sweet.
They are fun.
They're exciting to tell us about what they're studying and learning about, too.
Yeah.
Well, and Mara Lynn, by the way, she is an upstairs librarian normally, but she's on the lower level while the top floor is under renovation.
Yeah, we're going to have some new digs.
It's
on
not
the
quite
upper
ready
level.
for reveal yet, but I'll just, you check our website, our Facebook page, and you'll get some
We're making
progress photos as we make progress. But anyway, while she's on the lower level, she gets to sit down from a desktop and see the kids coming and going. So they're going to be coming through just kick off summer reading on summer reading starts June 1st, but the kickoff is June 7th, and that'll be over in the Commons Park in Wilkesboro, I believe.
Yeah.
Well,
There's always
anyway,
a big kickoff.
There's a big kickoff, and we'll give you all the details, all the more information to share on that with our T2 series next month, because that's when it all begins. But
we just want you to get it on your radar that we are in official spring, in the middle of it, and then we're going to head on in. When school gets out, watch out.
Yeah, summer
Because
reading
we're going to be the
way.
place to be.
That's right. Full time
right.
programming all summer long. But there was a small break, so just be patient. And
That second half of May. That's all you have to worry
for
about.
the kids, there's plenty of time to read the books, though.
Yeah, and let them come get a big stack of picture books. Perfect time for that.
Definitely. Well,
Okay, what else we got to talk about?
I'm sure there's a lot to go.
Oh, let me mention,
Okay.
we've already gotten some prizes for adults.
Oh.
So we're going to have a reading challenge also.
Yeah,
And so plan on participating.
summer
I
reading
know.
is not just for kids.
That's right.
It's for everyone.
It's for everyone.
We want to read all year long, but especially in the summer, trying to prevent that summer slide. When kids take a break from school, got to keep them reading. Let them practice those skills they've learned.
The kids can have the slide, Suzanne. I want the hammock. A book and a hammock.
There's a metaphor here. I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about your learning slide. Don't slide downhill with your learning. Keep it going uphill. But you can play out there on the slide on the playground. Just don't fall off the swing set.
No, none of that anymore. We've got a lot to look forward to.
Definitely. I hope to see you at the library. Y'all have a great day.